Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today, we're starting it off with ground news to aggregate. FBI agrees to aid search for Texas Democrats who fled redistricting session. And as you can see here, you can see the levels of bias distribution. So I picked from the far left as well as from MSNBC and the New York Post. And of course, if you aren't familiar, I asked my crack staff to break this down for you guys. And of course, you can pause the video to read the specifics. But as you can see here, the legislators in Texas were going to pass a House bill, as you see here, House Bill 4, and a House resolution that was going to redistrict areas of Texas and therefore make it very difficult for the Democrats to win. And of course, gerrymandering and redistricting is a common practice. And as we see here from Nick Sorter, just in, Jasmine Crockett says the new U.S. House map in Texas will draw her out of her district. And so it's kind of fascinating how this is continuing to happen. And so what's happened is the Democrats have left Texas. They broke quorum. So in other words, a quorum is the amount of people that you need to have to be able to, actually exercise democracy, which is funny, right? Because the Democrats keep saying threat to democracy, yet they left the entire state. Now, the reason they left the state is because the state could then try to find them and bring them to the Capitol and have their very presence there be part of the quorum, so then they could pass the vote that they know they're going to lose. So the Democrats know they're going to lose these particular resolutions, and so of course they just want to leave their job. So they basically abandoned their work. So they're derelict in their duties, and so now apparently they're being pursued because we see here from the New York Post, FBI helping Texas law enforcement locate rogue Dems who fled state redistricting session. Because, of course, if they're in the state, then obviously they can be tracked down by Texas. But now that they aren't in the state, which is the intention, making it difficult for Texas because, of course, they'd be out of their jurisdiction. But now they're getting FBI help. So let's listen to what Mark Cunningham has to say here.
Are erupting in supposed horror over Texas's bid to gerrymander its House seats here in between censuses. Funny thing is, the gerrymander is as old as the Republic. Elbridge Gerry, who you get the name gerrymander from, was a founding father. He signed the Declaration of Independence. He was the 5th Vice President of the United States. As governor of Massachusetts, he enacted a gerrymander that looked like a dragon as it collected voters for his party to outnumber the other party in a Massachusetts state Senate seat. It's been done by both parties ever since then. Usually, yes, after the census is done, that's when the House maps are usually redrawn. But the fact of the matter is...
Now, the thing about the census is it's based on people, population, not necessarily where those people are from. But as we have mentioned here on the BuzWeaver channel, that, of course, the Democrats were trying to distribute, oftentimes, these illegal immigrants in certain regions for these purposes. Now, I can't specifically say that that is exactly why the Democrats were doing it, but it is a possibility that they were trying to move people around for this particular purpose when it comes to gerrymandering and redistricting. Now, of course, it's anecdotal, but it seems kind of apparent when you consider that gerrymandering, as he's saying here, Cunningham is saying, is that this has been going on for years.
Both parties do it. And in fact, Texas had an opening to do this because the Biden Justice Department sued it, demanding it redraw its map after it had done one after 2020. The other funny thing, of course, is that the Texas Democratic legislators who are fleeing the state to try to deny a quorum so that the new gerrymander can't be passed have fled to Illinois, which is one of the most gerrymandered states in America. Illinois' new 13th congressional district runs from East St. Louis, north 90 miles to Springfield, then a sharp turn east for another 80 miles to Decatur and Champlain. It's a snake just like the original gerrymander in Massachusetts. Far different than the old 13th district, which actually elected a Republican. The point was to turn it from Republican to Democrat, which it did. It's one reason Democrats have picked up House seats, even as Donald Trump thumped Kamala Harris last year.
So there you have it. So that's a great explanation, a great, nice outline that I wanted to give you guys, because when I hear from people who are opposed to, well, who agree with the Democrats, I should say, not opposed to what's happening. Well, they're opposed to what's happening in Texas with what the Republicans are doing, But it's good to have the outline here that I wanted to present to you guys, of course, because you can share that as well. And, of course, hit that like button because we have been discussing this before. So, nonetheless, if we move over to MSNBC, they're saying that Cornyn FBI to assist locating Democrats opposed to Texas GOP redistricting scheme. While there are certainly national implications to the Texas Republican redistricting scheme, it is obviously a state issue. Well, obviously, it's interesting how suddenly the Democrats think it's a state issue, but they don't want abortion to be a state issue. You see how this goes back and forth? Indeed, the entire controversy involves Republicans in the Texas legislature trying to redraw the state's district lines, which led Democratic state lawmakers to play the only card they had, which was to leave. And so they basically abandoned their job. And, well, if you leave your job, you should either just quit or be held responsible for what you're doing. And they were derelict in their duty. And I think that's a crime also. I think Abbott was talking about how it may be even a felony it'd be a felony if they're somehow getting money to go to Illinois, right? Because we're going to see the Democrat leadership right here, Pritzker, I should say. And his family owns the Hyatt Hotels. I did not know that, but his family owns the Hyatt Hotels. So if he's harboring these Democrats, then they could consider it bribery. In other words, offering money or comfort or whatever. Now, I'm just paraphrasing here. Don't quote me specifically when I say harboring and stuff. But if they can see this as being bribery, right? They're being asked by Pritzker to go to Illinois to avoid Texas law enforcement and so forth. But I wanted to pick this site, obviously, as I went to ground, because this is a far left site. This is Crooks and Liars is the name of the site. Let's see what they have to say here, or as this interview of Pritzker was taking place.
About that, because quite clearly Texas officials have no authority to make arrests in your state. But Senator Cornyn of Texas has called for the FBI to arrest them. And President Trump also said the FBI might have to do that. So what do you feel is your responsibility as the governor to protect these lawmakers if federal agents show up?
Fascinating. To protect Democrats who fled their responsibility, the same people who kept screaming about needing to protect democracy, okay? Just so everyone keeps that in mind. Of course, they're not going to say all that here on this particular platform here, this particular site.
Well, they're grandstanding. There literally is no federal law applicable to this situation. None. They can say that they're sending FBI agents might show up just to, I don't know, again, to put a show on.
Right.
But the fact is that, our local law enforcement protect everybody in Illinois. Our state troopers protect everybody in Illinois and anybody who's here in Illinois. And so whether it's federal agents coming to Illinois or state rangers from Texas, if you haven't broken federal law, you're basically unwelcome.
See, you see how he's playing this game, right? They know that the Texas jurisdiction can't go into Illinois. All right, so they're playing this game of, well, you can't get us. Now think about it. If you break the law, let's just take their mindset. So Democrats can leave their job and not be held accountable or responsible by going to another state where they're safe. So think about that. Either if you're breaking quorum, right? So you're creating what would be a certain penalty, as it were, but you're going to another state. So imagine thinking like we talked about with ICE, where these people that they try to arrest run into buildings, and of course there's no safety. Once you're being pursued, of course, they can be arrested. Now they're playing the same game here in Illinois, as though you can obscure doing your job and not be responsible, right? Be derelict in your duties, and you just go to another state and there's no penalty. That's insane.
And there's no way that they can be that our state legislators here, the Texas state legislators, can be arrested.
Okay.
Yeah, their legislators can't, but when it comes to Texas, it could be a different story. So sorry for the interruptions. I just want to clarify these sorts of things because they're not going to do that here, not on this site.
I hope that's not tested. If it is, are we headed to a standoff between state and federal authority over who controls our elections? Is that where we are?
Look, we follow the law. And the law is what I just laid it out to be. But as you know, Donald Trump does not follow the law. Indeed, he's a convicted felon. And in Texas.
That is so agonizing. Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have we talked about the fact that Judge Merchan used novel maneuvering to get those convictions? Because a jury is supposed to arrive at a conclusion unanimously, not individual verdicts. And this, what he just said, is exactly what the Democrats wanted. They wanted to be able to use that soundbite because people aren't going to know all the specifics and all the details of the law or how it works. And this is exactly what he's doing here, trying to play this game of Donald Trump doesn't obey the law. But apparently when it came to abortion being turned over to the states, now all of a sudden they wanted it to be federal. So this game of back and forth continues, and he is using every soundbite out there for the left. And that's why he said the convicted felon and Donald Trump is a liar and doesn't follow the law, because this is what they say and this is what they do. And these types of sound bites are what we see across all social media by the left because they don't do their research.
They are also not following the law. They are thwarting the Constitution with the Voting Rights Act and making threats that they can't carry out. John Cornyn, of course, is running against Ken Paxton for his seat in the U.S. Senate. And so they're...
All right, so there you have it. But I wanted you to hear all sides so you guys can understand like what's all happening and what this all is about. But I wanted to draw from ground news because this is a topic across all the spectrum of what's going on in Texas. And it's become a spectacle at this point. And so each one is trying to use their particular positions within their party to justify their reasoning behind it. But what they're doing is clear. And I've had this conversation with people on TikTok. The Democrats have clearly broken decorum. They've left the state. They've neglected to do their job. They don't want to do their job, yet they scream about wanting to protect democracy. So the very democracy that is being practiced in Texas, because as we just saw here from Cunningham, that both the Democrats and the Republicans do gerrymandering, because the left always likes to remind me that the Democrat or the Republicans like to gerrymander. But in this situation, when it comes to Illinois, as they were showing there in Illinois, as well as in Texas, the Democrats have already used all of their ability to gerrymander, and now the Republicans are in power. Elections have consequences, and now they're having to deal with it. And this is the way they deal with it. They push the boundaries, they push the lines, they push the legal process, and to an extent, that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing, too. This is why they hate Trump so much, is because he's employing the same strategies that the Democrats use, and that is blur the lines, push the limits, make your opponents come to you. And so this is why this is such an interesting and fascinating process, and this is why you're seeing so much wrangling and so much news media coverage, because Donald Trump is employing a lot of the methodologies that they use, and they don't like it. So they again have to continue to go with their same mantras about Trump being a liar, being a convicted felon, and all this nonsense. But nonetheless, guys, I welcome your thoughts and comments down in the comments section. Are you from Texas? Do you know people from Texas? How is this impacting you? And do you find all this quite fascinating that's continuing of the Democrats to basically act like children? And it's extraordinary that they continue to behave this way, especially individuals like Jasmine Crockett. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much, all of you on New Tech as well as here on YouTube, for your guys' continued support. Appearing there on the screen, that'll be the channel icon. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notifications. And I'll see all you guys tomorrow in the Friday Vlog.